Hello everyone, it's your host, Get Good Fox, and welcome back to the Fox Talks Podcast, Episode 2. Last time I talked more about the mechanistic elements of the game, a little more serious. This time I want to talk about something a little bit more fun, introduce the idea that the podcast will have different subjects. So, I want to invite all of you to tell me down below first, do you think Red Talon is evil? Yes or no? And why? And then after you've heard all of this, maybe you revise things a notch, or maybe you don't. So what I'm going to do is take this question. Is the Red Talon evil? Something that I see it periodically. Last time I saw it was on Reddit, and I got 3 sections to the video. So first, I'm going to give you the literal answer. It's kind of a no-fun answer, but it's going to cover what we know about Red Talon and some things that might incriminate them. Then we'll go into my kind of speculative answer, kind of what I think the meaning to the story that Red Talon serves to State of Decay 2 is, and then my hopeful answer, which is what I hope Undead Labs does with the Red Talon. But let's go ahead and get started. So what is the literal answer? Like I said, kind of a no-fun answer. We don't know. We don't know. There's just not enough story elements in the game to really say one way or the other. And what has happened? Well, the story hasn't been taken far enough to really do a heads or tails. So here are a few bullets that I remember. First up, here's the big one. Cami Baez, she's one of the radio characters that says that she came from a Red Talon labor camp where I believe they said they were mining coal. Here's the deal, though. She joins the network, and Twain immediately jumps on board and is like, oh, you've exposed the evil ways of the Red Talon. But the thing is, the claims have never been substantiated. We don't really know what Cami Baez even is. It could be true. Maybe she was in a work camp. But what if she's an agent provocateur? Like, what if she is just intentionally trying to start stuff? Like, maybe she has ulterior motives. Like, what if she works for the government? Like, the U.S. government still maintains a presence in the story. As Heartland indicates, an army captain is present, and he was on U.S. government business. So we don't know enough about her. And while, yeah, that's speculative, that's exactly my point. We just don't know enough about Cami Baez. We don't know if she has ulterior motives. We don't know if she's telling the truth. There's also the issue of, let's say she is telling the truth. Let's say she came to a forced labor camp. Red Talon would presumably be giving them shelter, food, safety. So they're not really working for free. They are working to be protected, fed, and sheltered in a terrible zombie apocalypse. So there's even room for debate on whether or not some kind of a labor camp is even really evil enough to say that the Red Talon is evil. But most important of all, it's never been substantiated. All we have is Cami Baez saying a particular thing. Next up, you've got the Crazed Red Talon agent. A lot of these are ideas that I've seen people post on Reddit or in my comment section. I think the Crazed Red Talon agent, sure, it's embarrassing. It makes Red Talon look bad. But I don't think it's incriminating that Red Talon is evil. I think it just means that some people snap in high-stress situations. Then you've got Chavez. Chavez in Homecoming says that, he's not sure if he really believes in Red Talon anymore. It's not incriminating, once again. I think, to me, it just tells you that a zombie apocalypse is a really complicated thing. And, surprise, surprise, it's very difficult to weigh all the factors of managing basically an anti-zombie apocalypse military. So it doesn't really tell you that the Red Talon is evil. What about Red Talon making their mean videos or mean comments on the radio? Once again, I don't think being mean is incriminating. It's a feature of an anti-hero. An anti-hero might be kind of mean, but they might not be a bad person. And they also do give out, positive and optimistic advice through Lieutenant Meredith. So once again, I don't think that's incriminating. Then you've got Daybreak. Daybreak is actually something that I think supports that the Red Talon isn't evil. So first off, you play as the Red Talon, and through all the dialogue, yeah, sure, Sasquatch might be a little snarky, but he's not evil. And what you're doing there doesn't seem to be any nefarious intent. Like, they're not like, oh God, just wait until we download the information from Cleo and conquer the world. There's nothing like mustache twirling going on there. If there is, it's very, very subtle. And then, but what about this idea? You recruit these, like, if you're worried about Red Talon being evil, you're recruiting Red Talon characters into your community, which on one hand, wouldn't they just be a massive security risk? Why would you, if you were evil and if you're evil and you're presenting yourself as good, you wouldn't allow that to happen? Not saying that Undead Labs might have the foresight to consider that. And then the other thing is that, once again, you're inviting them into your community, so like that you must not perceive them as being that bad if you're willing to let them live amongst you. Some people make entire Red Talon communities. That's what I think. Obviously, some people don't use them at all, but I just don't think, to wrap up this kind of first section, I just don't think any of the anti-Red Talon arguments, I mean, it could indicate them being evil if it were substantiated. Mainly the Cami Baez stuff. But like I said, the story hasn't advanced far enough along to really say yes or no. So let's go ahead and move into the second part. This part I find a lot more interesting. My speculation on what I think Red Talon means to the State of Decay story. So my first thing is, I just want to get rid of the whole idea of good versus evil, because I think the Red Talon, especially when viewed as Red Talon versus Network, I don't think it's an issue of good versus evil. This is what I think it is. Let's think about something like Mass Effect. Mass Effect has the Paragon and Renegade system, which is basically a system of hero versus anti-hero, because you can do good things with the Paragon decisions and you can do good things with the Renegade decisions. And either way, Commander Shepard in Mass Effect, he is going to be a heroic character whether you choose Paragon or Renegade. It's just like with a Paragon, you're a more socially accepted classical hero, and with Renegade, you're just kind of like the bad boy, get the job done at any cost. Maybe you got to step on a few people along the way there, but you're still getting the job done. You're still a heroic character. You're just an anti-hero. And then the second issue, another comparison, I think, rather than like good versus evil, which I think completely misses the point of Red Talon Network, is it's more like authoritarianism versus libertarianism. Basically, authority versus freedom. And don't worry about these like political words. Like, it's like we're scratching the surface of politics, but we're not going to get into it. It's just an interesting comparison. The idea of progress. Human progress through order or human progress through freedom. The Network and the Red Talon also have kind of like different objectives. The Red Talon want to vanquish the zombies and return the world to the way it was before. And the Network, they seem to imply that the zombies, they're just here to stay, and that we got to learn to live with the zombies. We got to come together because the zombies aren't going anywhere. And that is, and they don't say it directly, but you just get the sense that they feel like Red Talon's efforts are kind of like a costly boondoggle that's destined to fail, and that these zombies, they're just not going anywhere. What we need to do is accept the reality. The zombies are here to stay. We need to learn how to live with the zombies, not try and like waste all of our resources to wipe them out. I think that is the real element of the Red Talon and the Network in regards to the story of State of Decay 2. So it's not good versus evil. It's hero versus anti-hero. It's freedom versus authority, progress through order, progress through freedom. And so my answer, what I think, and like I said, this is just like my speculation, I don't think the Red Talon is evil. I don't think good or evil is actually even really all that important. And if they are good or evil, once again, like, we need to know more in the story. There's just not enough details. So I think that the Red Talon, I think they're just an organization that has a solution for dealing with the zombie apocalypse. Their solution differs from the Network, and their solution is like, we're going to rally a bunch of people, organize, And through might makes right, through discipline, through order, through like having a single vision, we will overwhelm the zombies through our united single focus on their eradication and restoring the world to its former glory. I think that's what the Red Talon is. Now, Twain is worried about the Red Talon taking over afterwards. I think that's completely irrelevant, and here's why. Let's say the Red Talon turns out evil and they conquer the world. Well, you know what? I'm completely fine with that in the sense that if the Red Talon takes over the world, defeats all the zombies, you know what? That's a much more familiar enemy. Tyrannical regimes have been toppled before, and tyrannical regimes will be toppled again in the future. I would much rather, let's just get the zombies out of here. Let's just get rid of the zombies. And you know what? If the Red Talon turns out to be evil, then that's just the next chapter of the story to deal with. But we have way more experience in human history overcoming tyrannical overlords than we do with dealing with zombie outbreaks. So if Red Talon can solve the problem but become our evil overlords, bring it on. We'll just solve them as a problem next. Let's just get those dang zombies out of the way. Now, let's move into the third section. This is what I hope Undead Labs does with the story. Now, it's no secret, I'm not a huge fan of Undead Labs story writing, but this is at least what I hope they do. I hope that they do not label the Red Talon as evil through their story writing, because I think it's just a it's just a waste. Right now, people are really invested. Like, they're really into the network. They're really into the Red Talon. There's Red Talon merchandise. Like, people want that merch. Like, there's Red Talon characters. People want those Red Talon characters. Like, people are really into it. Like, they like the strength and the unity of the Red Talon. And to just turn them into kind of like cartoonish, like, whoa, little did you know how evil we were. I think it just throws away everything that's cool about the Red Talon. And it also just completely sweeps aside this whole video here, this whole discussion, the fact that people are like, is the Red Talon evil? Well, all of that is gone. It's just thrown out the window if you just decide to make them evil. But as long, it's okay if they do morally questionable things. It's okay if they make mistakes. But to just making them the villains, it's going to take away this interesting dynamic of authority versus freedom. And that's an interesting conversation. It just throws it right out the window. It's going to take kind of like, what about the approach to the zombie apocalypse? The charity of the network versus the kind of utilitarian pragmatism of the Red Talon. It just throws it out the window. And it just makes them like, oh, well, I guess authority was just bad and pragmatism is just bad because we're just going to make the Red Talon like these cartoonish villains. And it just throws that network versus Red Talon debate just right out the window. And so I think that is just a humongous loss for State of Decay because it's something people are really invested in, and I think that Undead Labs would have people way more into the game if they do not, like, declare one side as being strictly good and one side as strictly bad. I think I really like the idea that the network is perceived as good, and probably is good, especially because, if you're a legacy State of Decay player who's played State of Decay 1, obviously you're going to have some love for Lily since she played a big role in the first game, but also like there's certainly an appeal of just like the badass soldiery of the Red Talon, and I think maintaining the tension between the two sides, maybe even having them fight each other, not because one side is good or evil, but they just disagree in the methodology, I think that would lead to a vastly, vastly superior story where people really relate to the two sides, like areas of moral gray, people who have different ideas to solve different situations. And I think that's just so much more interesting, and you're just gonna like throw it all away if you just label the Red Talon as just being like, stereotypical like bad guy side. Anyways, so my conclusion here is that I don't think the Red Talon is evil. The current evidence against them, it's not strong enough. It could be. They could be evil. But the evidence needs to be a little more substantiated. I think anyone who is just calling the Red Talon evil, it's like kind of a stretch. Like, you could say it's a forecast. You predict that the Red Talon is evil. I think you could fairly say that. But to just, like, say that the Red Talon, it's just like flipping a coin. You're just flipping a coin. Heads, you're right. Tails, you're wrong. Because there's just not enough evidence to really declare them good or evil. And it misses the point. I don't think they should be good or evil. They should just be another faction with a different idea so that players can either say, hey, you know, I like that idea, I don't like that idea, or I just don't care about that idea. So, anyways, more story details need to be hammered out. And lastly, I just hope they maintain this kind of tension. It's an interesting conversation. It's the reason why people are talking about it. And I hope you will talk about it down in the comment section. So now that you've heard all of this, what do you think? Do you think the Red Talon is evil? Have I made you think one way or the other? Are you basically in the same area? Did you not care and now you care about it more now? What do you think the Red Talon is going to play a role as in State of Decay 3? Do you think they'll be villains? Do you think do you want to see more antagonism between Network and Red Talon? I certainly do. I think more and maybe even fighting between the two factions would add some really awesome drama. I think that's something people really want to see, taking like these characters, pushing them to the limits where they got to fight not only the zombies, but an entire organized faction. That would really show the true colors of not just the Red Talon, but also the Network. I think it would be really, really interesting. So let me know everything down in the comment section. Hopefully you guys enjoyed episode 2 of the Fox Talks podcast. I'm going to try to do like one a week, maybe 2 a week, but let's just start with one a week for now. And yeah, I've got to come up with a new subject for the next one. Anyways, let me know what you think down in the comment section. Like the video if it was entertaining. Subscribe for future The Fox Talks podcast content. And of course, remember that you don't have to be good to get good.